Continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy will talk January jobs numbers with Jim Perry momentarily, but here's a number that's interesting. The papers with which I'm affiliated doing these stories, looking at the cost of like real everyday products like groceries for Illinoisans. Mm-hmm. The cost of Jewel Osco chicken breast has increased 251% since 2020.
Yeah. You know I complain all the time. And it's called the Jewels, by the way. Okay.
A pack of chicken breasts at the supermarket chain costs $6.99 per pound as of January 2nd of this year, which is $5 more than the $1.99 per pound price tag for chicken breast on December 16th of 2022. Mm-hmm. So in the last 2 years, 251%, total increase, 251% increase in the cost of chicken breast, which outpaces the supposed 2.7% inflation rate for food in the last year, as reported by the Labor Department, which is why it's hard to believe anything the Labor Department reports, including the unemployment numbers, because, it's a government agency. They're not susceptible to incompetence or cooking the books.
Yeah. Right. But, on average, 20% more we're paying for everything, like toiletries, shampoo. Everything at the store that you buy is not what it used to be, and it's never going back down.
Well, just to continue this, just in terms of the real dollar amounts, turkey breast, December of 2020 was 12 cents an ounce. Now it's 50 cents an ounce. Ground beef was $3.99 a pound. Now it's $5.49 a pound. Mm-hmm. Laundry detergent, $7.99 for an 88-ounce bottle in December of 2020. Now it's $12.99 for the same bottle, $7.99 to $12.99. Ham, 99 cents a pound, $4.29 a pound. Salmon, $5.99 a pound, $6.99 a pound. And on down the line, the good news for me, not that I purchased these things, king crab legs have stayed constant at $24.99 a pound.
Oh, thank God.
So it's not impacting me, and that's what's most important. But
no,
it's
dog
really
food's
interesting.
up, though, and so is cat food. Everything.
Except king crab legs. Except king crab legs. That's the good news. So you got that going for you. $24.99 a pound king crab legs, thanks to your president, Joe Biden. Stayed constant, $24.99 a pound. All right?
That's why I don't eat crab legs. $24.99 a pound? Nah, I'll go to McDonald's.
Jim Perry is the founder and CIO of Perry International Capital Partners. He joins us now. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
Morning. Let me know if you want me to pick you up a couple of pounds of king crab legs next time I'm in Chicago. That's where you get some real savings. 353,000 jobs, says that same Department of Labor we were discussing, new jobs created in January. Beat the street estimates, that's for sure. Can you give us any color on those jobs? How many public sector versus private sector, for example?
I don't have that breakdown yet. It's still a little early for me. I don't know exactly what that number is on public, but I would say this. Manufacturing was 23,000 versus 8, and it seems like the administration and most of the financial system will come out and say this is a great number and everything is great, except that there's a big problem, and it dovetails into exactly what you're talking about with everything except the lasting king crab legs. Prices are up. Inflation is going up, and it's driven by wages, right? So if you look at the jobs report this morning, the one thing that sticks out in my mind more than anything else is that hourly earnings are rising at a year-on-year rate at 4.5%. That's the highest in 12 months, right? Maybe 18 months. Labor costs are going up across the board. The economy is a service sector economy, so it's mostly really just getting out those goods and services that people want. And the fact is, to your point on the Labor Department, the Bureau of Labor Statistics admits that prices, according to their measurement, are up 25% from the pre-pandemic level. 25%, right? That's everything. So we've got a growing economy, which is inflating. That's the bottom line.
And that's why Powell this week was reluctant to encourage those who think a rate cut is coming in March.
I think that's right. I think Powell, well, it's interesting. You'll appreciate this, and I think your listeners will. Chairman Powell will be on 60 Minutes, right, on Sunday night. And I think what he is going to talk about is that he wants to unwind the excessive monetary policy that's in the system, which is, you know, a tough sled politically when you're sitting in Washington where everybody else that's in town wants debt to continue to go up and interest rates to continue to go down.
Well, what does that look like? I mean, is that going to happen?
I do not think so. I mean, I look at a lot of data in this business, and one of the things that I picked up yesterday afternoon, last night, the Atlanta Fed, right, there's 12 regional Fed banks. The Atlanta Fed came out last night and said that GDP in the first quarter of this year is expected to rise by 4.2%, right? 4.2%. Furthermore, that prices using the PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditures number, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, is expected to rise, get this, 4.9% in Q1 this year. These are huge numbers, and it's all about excessive liquidity in the system, thanks to the government.
So that means obviously there's no fiscal restraints on that side of the house at the federal
Zero.
government, and then you're going to have you've got to have Jay Powell play his part to continue to inflate the Fed's balance sheet, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have said to clients all month, the last quarter or 2, 3 months, that I really don't think that the Fed is going to cut rates in 2024. I think anybody that's in commercial real estate will cringe and think I'm a fool, and bankers will think that, and the fund management business will think that, and the bankers will think that. But these guys are talking their book, and all they want is more and more free money. And the stock market sees that. So that free money is coming. The Peterson Institute, which is a nonprofit sort of government watchdog, they came out with a report about 3 weeks ago and said that fiscal spending, this is government money that is printed that goes directly into the economy, bypassing the financial system, since the pandemic, was $5.4 trillion in the last 4 years. That has never happened before. Even in the World War II, and it's never happened before. This is unbelievable amount of spending, and it's causing inflation because it's making wages in the service sector rise.
Right. But you've got to prop up consumer spending to prop up the stock market, and that's certainly going to be the order of the day in D.C. at least through November. So it looks like it's going to be another banner year for the stock market. People scratching their heads, but what go long on the Magnificent Seven and don't fight City Hall, right?
Well, yes. Short answer, that's the way to play it. I mean, the Magnificent Seven, the returns in the stock market for the Magnificent Seven last year were 75%, right? 75%.
Wow. Right.
I mean, which is amazing, right? I mean, that's really an enormous number.
Yeah, and then what do we have coming? The news this week, after Zuckerberg gets excoriated for the performative excoriation of Mark Zuckerberg before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he apologized to some parents. And the story today: record profits for Meta. I mean, it's just going to keep churning.
Yeah, it's not only record profits. I mean, their revenue. What do they say? The fourth quarter profits tripled from third quarter. Tripled. They grew 25% on revenues to $30 billion, which is the highest that they've done since the pandemic. And net income went from less than $5 billion to over $14 billion in 1 year. Right?
It's astounding. But
it's an amazing number.
So why should anybody? But I mean, I would finish your answer. I didn't mean to interrupt. But in terms of like Magnificent Seven and ride the funny money fiscal Fed policy at least through the end of this year, is there any caution you have for believing that to be the best play? Well,
I think that if you look at the S&P 500, the other sort of 493 stocks, really, their earnings in this quarter will probably be flat at best, right? So, and you have to remember that the S&P 500 is really weighted toward the industrial sector of the economy, industrial and goods and things like that. But this economy is a service sector economy, and, professional business services and stuff like that, these job growth numbers are just enormous. And the fact is that the S&P really isn't a reflection of what has become a transformative U.S. economy over the last 5 to 10 years, especially pandemic. And the pandemic accelerated the trend that was already in place, And I think that a lot of the people that comment on the market and inflation, they kind of cherry pick the data that fits their narrative, right? I mean, they talked about goods inflation coming down so hard from 9% to, maybe 1.5% or something like that. Goods inflation in 6 months or 12 months is probably going to be negative. I mean, China is exporting deflation, right? The economy is collapsing over there. They're trying to sell as much stuff as they can at any price they can get for it. So CPI is probably going to keep going down. But that's not really the true picture of what's going on in the economy. The inflation is coming in wages. Wage inflation, according, again, to the Atlanta Fed, wages are growing at, and this is just the Fed, at 5.6%. And people who change jobs, wages are growing at over 7%. I mean, this is not recessionary stuff,
Jim Perry is the founder and CIO of Perry International Capital Partners, LLC. Jim, thank you as always for the analysis.
Dan, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. What could be better? Join me from June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or reserve online. PatriotsAlaskaCruise.com.
Platinum Consulting Services seeks a .NET developer in Chicago, Illinois to design, develop, test, implement, and support web applications using Agile methodology. Master's degree in computer science, information technology, or related. Full-time, multiple openings. Occasional travel or relocation may be required. Send resumes to HR Director, Platinum Consulting Services Incorporated, 2425 West